And I think there was another question for Hannah.
Thank you. I have a question here that says mitigation, lower the impact of climate change, and adaptation to lower the cost of climate change. Could you elaborate on the meaning of impact and cost? Okay, with impact, I'm meaning the actual physical impact of climate change, like for example, say sea level rise. And with mitigation, mitigation lowers the impact by lowering the actual climate change, by reducing the greenhouse gases and thus reducing climate change, and the impacts will be less. And adaptation lowers the cost of climate change, which means even if the sea level rises, if we are well adapted, we have a resilient house, or we don't face that much destruction, and we have lower cost of the impacts of climate change. And with the costs, we could think of actual cost in money, although I don't think all loss we can measure in money. For example, biodiversity loss is not always measurable in money, and I don't think it should be either. Although it's very important, biodiversity loss is probably the only global environmental change that is irreversible, but we can't maybe measure it in money. But sometimes it's good to give figures to the decision makers and put it in money terms. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Hannah. Before passing on the mic to Irina, I would just like to ask those from the audience who still have questions to please write them down and bring them to us on the paper, because that will be just easier. Thank you.
I have a question with regard to the solar projects in Pindadas in Brazil, and people or the person asks or mentions that it's an interesting model, and how can communities learn from it? In my paper, which is in your folder, but it will be replaced because there is a miscopying in it. But on page 6, it has the references and also the website, and the website has contacts for the Pintadas solar project. So everybody can either learn from the website or contact the organizers of that project. So be invited to do that. The other question is the concern of more men representing climate change issues and the discussions and all the pictures we've seen. Isn't it a challenge to have more women also studying the science of climate change and the mechanisms, etc., in education, science, etc.? And how are we doing that? Certainly, that's the other, working through the other way, and it's part of empowerment. I myself based in the science department of the university, and we see more and more women starting to study science subjects, and they're mainly interested up till now in biology because it links the life aspects, but more and more we also see women studying physical issues, physics and chemistry, etc. What is important is not only to have more women students and promote that in these areas, but also to have more possibilities for these women to start working and have a career in the areas of climate change. And that's often a major challenge. I must say, as a scientist myself, sometimes it's difficult to enter the male-dominated domains. But we see also in IPCC there are several very good women, so we have to really link up with those and learn lessons from those. On the other hand, having science, male scientists being aware of gender issues is one of the motivations for us, at least, to give gender studies and courses also in the science department. And that's the other way around, because then you get very gender sensitive male colleagues, and that's as important as having more women.